No music. Just by myself. You ready, Louie? You ready to do this, man? You're looking good today, Louie. Looking good, bud. Yep. Class act you are. Hey, welcome to the Closing Beat, everybody. Happy Monday. How you doing out there? Hope you're having a good day. This is a special edition, I guess, a watered-down version of the Closing Beat, because Cody's in Paris, Tennessee, that is, but he's taking a little bit of a trip to see some friends, and so it's just me. I thought I'd hang out with you guys here. I've got a lot to cover. I'm still here. I work. Just teasing. This is a we're financial advisors. We do a stock market update show every day just to show you what we're doing, kind of what the markets are doing, show you that we're keeping tabs on things. And I don't just go play golf all the time and, I don't know, whatever these other advisors do. That is not the case here. I'm happy to help. And we got a lot to talk about. The first thing I want to mention, if you have financial losses, talk about it, right? There's advantages there. A lot of people go, I lost money in stocks, I lost money on a property, divorces, things happen, and you don't want to talk about it, right? We only want to talk about our successes, right? That happens. But I encourage you to talk about your losses, especially if you're working with a financial advisor, because you never know what you're going to say that makes them go, hey, by the way, there's a rule for that. There's a trick we can do. There's something we can help with to lower taxes, improve other investments. So talk about it, right? I had a client that seemed kind of reluctant to tell me about some losses they had, and I'm like, hey, there's actually something we can do there, so what else do you got? And then all of a sudden the floodgates open and tell me everything. I hope you don't lose, but you know what I mean? Bring it up. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't hide it. You never know what's out there for you. Anyways, hey, we're going to talk about the stock market here today, as we always do. And I hope you're having a good day out there. We do classes every week for clients now over in the Speakeasy there. And we're going to talk about taxes on Social Security this week. I actually got a handful of questions from people, and I said, well, let's just cover that, because a lot of people are saying, yeah, I'm going to retire. What does this mean for Social Security? How does that work? Will I pay taxes, and specifically how? So we'll do all the geeky stuff there for you. And I think I'm going to do a video right after this for the research site. If you're a research member or you want to join, it's $13 a month. You can join on jazzwealth.com. I think I'm going to do a video on infrastructure stocks, right? Like, that's not a very popular thing to look at. And so a lot of people don't know what stocks will be sort of affected by the infrastructure bill that's going through that passed the House. And then in particular, what makes one better than the other? Let's take a look at some and kind of go through them. So maybe give you a quick lesson there, and I figure that's better as a video. So I'll be working on that. All right, let's take a look at the stock market here today. We're going to do it a little different. I'll be in the bottom part of your screen. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, we'll start with the S&P here today. Well, that's 5 straight weeks of gains. If you're following, there's a number of things you could say. I was like, how do you present the market the way it is, way up here like this? 5 straight week of gains, 7 more spam calls, man. Come on, we got to take care of that. 5 straight week of gains, 7 straight record closes, up 16 of the last 18. By the way, that up 16 of the last 18 hasn't happened since 1990, right? So some of you maybe not even been born yet there. And it's only happened 7 other times besides that. So being up 16 of 18 days is actually very rare. But nonetheless, that's what we've got. Take it or leave it. You got the S&P sitting at highs. I do want to point out that the VIX, I'll use the VIX futures, it did finish 4 cents in the negative here today. But the VIX futures in the last 2 days, you're seeing a rally. Why? Why? There should be no concern. The stock market's sitting at all-time highs. We have an extended market, and the VIX knows that, right? So you have a little bit of protection starting there in the VIX. Not saying the market's going to crash or anything. A lot of people look at that as like a severe fear index, but no. It could just be that the people say, well, this is just a little too much. 16 of 18, 7 straight record closes, 5 straight week of gains. We got to see a little bit of a pullback. So notice that. The VIX may be giving you a little bit of a hint there. Looking around the S&P, well, you got the airlines, right? Today's a big day for the airlines, the bigger guys anyways. You got American Airlines higher on the day, United Airlines higher, Delta Airlines up a little bit as well. And it's because of the international travel. So you've been able to go outside the U.S. for a while, but people haven't been allowed to come in the U.S. And so that changes, right? And a lot of the airports that have those international flights, they might as well just be, extra space to hang out because there hasn't been a lot going on there. And so that begins again. I want to point out that VRBO, by the way, also said they saw a 160% increase in the number of searches for U.S. properties to stay at from people that were not in the U.S. Rather clever there. So that's what you've got going on. International travel. It's a good thing, right? Semiconductors still at highs and pushing the new highs, up 2% on the day. I want to point out you got Xilinx. Xilinx hitting new highs, very extended. I'll continue to say it. It's a tough place to be a new buyer there. You got AMD in the news. They're working with Meta, we're going to call them now. Meta's going to be using their chips for that super duper processing they're going to need for the metaverse, if you're going to go hang out in the metaverse there. So a lot of questions there, but nonetheless, that's good news for them. I've got to go over here, actually. That's where I want to be. There we go. And if we're looking at AMD, what was that, 10% on the day? So just for fun, let's look. I honestly didn't do this. Let's see. You know, here, say, because that's a big gain. That's 25% in what, 6 days. So bear with me for a second. Let's just see if that's odd. We're going to use our research tool here. It's going to be over here. Is that weird? And you can see it good enough. Okay. So let's just find out, right? We could do this kind of research. I like to do greater than, what did I just say? 25% in 6 days. And let's look back, I don't know, 25 years. Hold on with me for a second. I'll let that work on it for a second, but that seems like that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, all right. So here's the data. So AMD, let's get you on the screen. There you go. I want you to be able to see. Return of 25% or more in a span of 6 days, 32 times in the last 25 years. Somewhat rare. Just over one a year. Average forward move for the next 6 days. Average decline of 1.67%. It's only positive 34% of the time, right? Look at that, right? So if you're thinking, I'm going to buy AMD right now, that's a good idea. I think I'm going to buy it. Look at what you're buying into. You're buying something that is very rare for it to head higher. You have a 34% chance of being positive over the next 6 days, and you might want to expect a slight pullback, and that's just because it's super extended. That's just that, right, where that stands. Do that to the semiconductors. Do that to things like Xilinx and take a look. Is it something that you want to participate in now? Probably not, and that's the data showing you that. That's not my opinion. AMAT breaking out. This is more like it, right? If you're a semiconductor, you want the breakout, and then just do it, man. Just little by little. Don't get too extended. I like the way AMAT's breaking out here. A couple other stocks. Freeport. So got a big move here. Infrastructure, kind of related. And so you got Freeport maybe breaking out of this range. What I think is cool about it, you broke the downtrend already, right? So you broke the downtrend, everybody got excited, and it didn't get too extended. It gave you the chance to consolidate sideways for you to make up your mind, and now it looks like it's taken off again. So I think that's kind of interesting there. Ford, that's expensive, over 20 bucks. Everybody's excited about Ford. Just keep in mind, this electric thing, you know, it's cool, but it doesn't mean Ford is suddenly gonna, hold these prices. A lot of the cars they lose money on. I think the majority of the cars they actually lose money on. The F-150 is kind of their staple and has been. So, right? This is not easy. There's a lot of companies saying, we're going to do electric too. Look, it's not that easy, but I like the attitude, I guess. Moderna, looks like you found a little bit of a low there, up 3% on the day. Some downward moves today. Nike pulling back. That's fair. I think that's more than fine there. I'd like to see Nike pull back. And you got Tesla in the news. I don't know, is that Musk selling his shares there? Slightly above average volume today. It's also up a ridiculous amount in a short amount of time. This is kind of what you're going to look for in something like AMD. This is not bad. Just a little pullback, you're totally fine. But look at how extended all these things are getting. It's really, really, it's kind of, you got to ask yourself, like, where is this going, right? The prices, the economy, and all this stuff. I mean, is this just going to continue? Come on. Bitcoin, here's another one, right? Bitcoin almost back to highs as well. That's kicking butt, really. Anything related to that is doing well. Coinbase is going to be highly correlated to it as well. Yeah, Coinbase up 5% on the day, so that's not bad. Oil prices back to highs or working their way back to highs, and just super strong there. I think it's really funny how the U.S. keeps putting pressure on OPEC to produce more oil because they want to bring the prices down. But yet the U.S. also makes this big proclamation that we're going to go green energy and save and be like environmentally friendly. What is it, right? Well, I think there's a little bit of a miscommunication there. But like I said, in the price of oil, nothing's going to change here. This is going to continue higher. OPEC is not changing they're not changing their mind at the moment. And so that's what you have, right? Green energy or not, wherever you stand on that's totally cool. But oil prices do not have a reason to fall. So you take a look around at everything. We could see like copper. You could look at, even gold, right? That was that little move from last week we were talking about. Seems like it's trying to break out of those lows today a little bit more and even better. But I really think you have to start preparing to not spend so much money. You have to start preparing for the helicopter of cash that's just falling all over the world right now. You kind of got to prepare for that to stop. This might be the time to say, you have extra cash, I don't need to spend it. I'm going to hang on to it, right? Maybe we don't need to do anything there. Earnings season's still going really well. I have no complaints about earnings season there. Take a look. The number of stocks beating on earnings still at record highs compared to the average. The number of stocks beating on revenue also at highs, so really well, doing very well here. Not a problem as far as that's going. The average stock price reaction, how the stock reacts on earnings day. Actually, I have something for you. Average stock price. Here's the intraday. I plotted this out last night. Here's what the average response to earnings is so far this quarter. The average response is a gap down, small gap down, negative 0.07%, a slight sell-off, and then that's basically it, right? You get a big rally, a recovery there. The average performance is positive by 0.17% per day. And so that's a good thing, right? I have a problem with that. On average, we're doing better on earnings day than we are or have been in many other different cycles. If a stock beats on earnings, revenue, and raises guidance, remember we talked about that last week? There's an interesting thing happening there. Well, I pulled that up as well just so we could take a look. Here's the intraday performance of a stock that beats on all three major metrics there. A gap up of 2.67%, a slight rally, and then it kind of just fades away. The day traders have their fun with it, but still finishing positive on the day by over 1%. 1.17% is the exact number. I'm sorry I didn't put the data point there for you to see, but we're still doing really, really good there, right? So that's a good thing. What's the negative, right? There's a lot of interesting negative things starting to show up in the form of CEOs commenting, or chief financial officers commenting on the next quarter. They're sort of trying to lower the bar for next quarter. To give you an example, the Clorox company, you got the CFO saying, we now project that transportation costs will remain elevated. That's Clorox, right? Solar Edge, they're seeing unprecedented logistics and supply chain challenges, and well, that doesn't help them. They get a lot of their stuff from Vietnam, and that was shut down as well. But those are their quotes there. Right, you got the Lumen CEO, make light bulbs and such. We've been in close communication with our diverse, reliable supplier base and comments and commitments from them on the ability to deliver. However, we're taking nothing for granted in this area. We're going to continue to closely monitor this. Intercontinental Exchange says energy consumption is expected to double over the next 30 years, yet carbon emissions are now expected to be reduced by half. This imbalance in supply and demand will introduce additional complexity and volatility in the energy markets. Right? Diamondback Energy there. They basically said, we're going to keep enjoying these higher prices. We expect them to continue, and we're going to keep making. Well, they're not going to increase production, but they're going to continue to sell oil at these high prices there. And so I didn't mean to like go off on a tangent. I'm just trying to say that there's a lot under the surface where I won't say like bubble. It doesn't feel like a bubble or anything yet, but we went from pent-up demand that we were supposed to expect. The world shut down and we were like, oh, pent-up demand. That was the key word, pent-up demand, right? Well, now we have that demand and prices are out of nowhere. We went from next to no production to all of a sudden, oh my God, consume. What happens when we're done consuming? We're not going to continue to consume at this level, be it on goods or services. And by the way, the consumer, I could probably pull this up pretty quick. I'm pretty fly with this stuff. Hold on a second. Okay, here is the actual spending on goods, consumer spending on goods. So it's an index, right? So just to kind of show you that change here. We went from consuming next to nothing, all of a sudden to consuming 3 times the amount that we were before. This pace, think of this as the AMD, right? It's not going to stay that elevated for long. It's going to look like the world is falling apart when consuming slows down. If you compare that to services, and we're going to go over here, just over the last year I want to show. That doesn't matter, I guess. Look at services, right? So we're now starting to spend more on goods than services, right? Though we're all eating out and stuff like that. But that pace is not going to continue. We went down to nothing, basically. We now ramped up to 1 to 2 times more than that. So that's just not going to continue. And I really worry that when consuming on goods and services and everything else starts to slow down a little bit, it's going to look like the bubble is popping, right? When in reality, it's just the pace of that cannot sustain itself. It's like inflation, right? The rate of change in inflation was in fact transitory. The level of inflation, turns out, was not transitory. So that pace had to stop, and it did stop. It just didn't pull back. The stock market could do the exact same thing. So I'm not like bearish on the stock market. I'm just saying you're about to be presented with the idea of a bubble popping. Does it pop? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's a tough one to tell there. Also, car prices, right? I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but car prices, let's take a look. You've got used car prices. No surprise. You know, the used car prices are higher, right? This doesn't surprise you. But now there's a double whammy coming here. It's not unfair. It's just going to be even worse. So we've got car prices taken off for used cars. Why? Because new cars are less available, although I don't really see that. Less available because of the chip shortage. But what's also happening now? You have rental car companies. What did they do during the virus? Well, if nobody's out there traveling, that means they don't need rental cars. Get rid of all the rental cars. Let's just keep a little bit. Now everybody's traveling again. International travelers are coming back into the States. They need rental cars. So rental car companies are gobbling them up like crazy. They're replacing their rental cars, like crazy here. So you know that's going to pull on used car prices. Where do you think they get the cars from, right? They go to the auction and they're bidding against the dealerships. The dealerships have to pay more. What cars they get, they come to you and say, we had to pay more, therefore you have to pay more. Right? So it's trickling down. This whole idea that Biden says most people won't understand the supply chain issue there. Come on, we put some numbers together. Maybe we don't understand the intricate details of what's going on behind the scenes, but I think, now it's a pretty clear thing. Also, if you didn't believe that, check this out. Here's Avis and Hertz. So Avis and Hertz, their change in rental cars in the hundreds of thousands. So here's the average of 2018 and 19. You can just kind of see. They were like, all right, we're adding some cars, no big deal. Good times, right? 2020, the virus hits. Look at how they changed their rental cars, getting rid of 46,000 rental cars, 174,000, 167,000, bringing down their fleet, and now they're rapidly increasing their fleet, right? So those may not be brand spanking new cars. They might be a half-year-old, 2 years old, or whatever. That's a used car, right? They have to go get those cars. That is making it so that we're going to end up costing more. It's going to end up costing us more as well. So keep that in mind. Add to that, let's get rid of all this stuff, right? I don't know why I have all this. We're severely extended here in the short term, right? This happens. The market gets extended. It takes a break, either pulls back or goes sideways. So this rate of the market rising like this, if you're younger and you've never been a part of this, it's not going to continue. Promise you, it's not going to continue. So be very careful with your thought process out there in terms of what you're buying, when you're going to buy it, and how you're going to schedule your dollars to go out. I could ramble on this one, but you're starting to actually see that you can use data to go, well, that explains the used car market. Do I want to buy a used car right now? Can I hold out a little bit? Yeah, you'd probably be better off if you did, right? It makes perfect sense. Should I be buying and going out and buying more good stuff? We got Christmas coming up and all that. Do I need to make this the best Christmas ever, as everybody's saying? You might want to consider, like, hey, let's try not to fall into that trap. Save a little bit of dough, right? Which, by the way, a slight side topic. If you're working with a financial advisor, just because I got to meet, I'm sorry, man. You're going to watch this. You were like the worst advisor I've ever met. That's a tough, we're not going to get along. So if you're going to work with a financial advisor, maybe ask them, where do you live? You got your dough straight, right? What kind of car do you drive? What kind of debt do you have, right? I can't believe some of the people that claim to be financial advisors. Now, they don't make a lot of money, and not a lot of them make a lot of money. So I'm not saying they have to live in a $10 million house or anything. But if they live in an apartment, you kind of want to question that. If they're in debt, okay, are they going to make good decisions for you? Right? You can ask that. You could just flat out ask your advisor. It's like, hey, man, tell me how much is in your retirement account? What are you doing? Are you saving? Are you investing in the same things I am? There's a lot of garbage out there. Anyways, let's move on. Boy, there you go. So you spend all this time making something here, and then you go off on a tangent. Echo Lab. Hey, these are new highs. I don't know. These are kind of interesting ones for a watch list. I point these out. There were 48 new highs today. I think there was only one new low. Actually, did it hit a new low? Yeah, market access just barely hit a new low. So, yeah, one new low. All right, you got Echo Lab. Cool little breakout, right? So it's a wider range. It's not as exciting of a breakout there. And so you got a breakout that just barely hit today. In a cool little space here. It could be a volatile stock, but I thought that was interesting. Put that on a watch list, see if that's something that continues. Cincinnati Financial hasn't been the best of breakouts. You got a longer than expected range here. It's trying. It doesn't have the sector behind it like it did before. The sector kind of took a break there. You got Coty, C-O-T-Y, breaking out here. A lot of good things for them, actually, that have been coming out lately. They finally got the stock price move on that one with earnings being released there. So I thought that was a good one. Actually, that did hit a new high today, and they beat on earnings, almost beat on all three. Revenues basically as expected, raised guidance going forward, but not bad. That was probably one to point out there. Berkshire Hathaway was in the news. I'll use the A class just for fun. So that's trying to break out. It's not a very volatile stock. It is a slow and steady. Think Warren Buffett here. The stock performs just like Warren Buffett behaves, just kind of slow and steady doing its thing, but it's a nice technical pattern there. Also, that's not a stock that generally grabs a lot of technical traders, so loses a point for that. Hey, and ExxonMobil hit new highs. It's a stronger than the sector stock. It's also one of the larger stocks in the sector. So you're going to find that as this does well, it's going to pull everything along with it. ExxonMobil and Chevron are the two biggest in the energy sector. If you're going to look at energy, like the XLE, those two stocks should still be the biggest ones there. Stocks in the news you may have noticed here today. Oh, losing battery power. That does happen. Company Allegheny, ticker symbol Y. So Barron's basically said over the weekend, they're like a little miniature Berkshire Hathaway. They're in the insurance space, investment space. It's breaking out of this downtrend here. Not too bad. I think Peloton. There you go. So Peloton actually tried to bottom out a little bit, didn't it? And you're looking around today, you can't see it because I'm in the way. If I get out of the way, you could see the lows here. Every time it tried to push to lows, it seemed to get bought up just a little bit. I think it's a little too soon, but I found that one kind of interesting. The trade desk also breaking out. You like that it erased the last basically 2.5 weeks of all these pullbacks here. The trade desk comes out with better than expected earnings, better than expected revenue, just kept guidance the same there, almost hitting new highs. It's good reversal there. It's if you've never used it, it's a software, what do you call it? Like a use at your own pace kind of software. I can't think of the word. But that was a good reversal here today, so maybe one to keep on a watch list there. I talked about Coinbase already, hitting new highs there. It's enjoying the crypto rally. U.S. Foods is another one there. So U.S. Foods says inflation will cost them, inflation cost on food is 11.5%. Who do you think is better, the Fed or U.S. Foods at telling you about inflation? So probably a little bit more accurate number there. And then lastly, you have Rivian. So look at this. There's just a lot of wildness going on out there. So you could tell I'm just kind of like, what? Just kind of woke up today and I was like, what is going on? All right, Rivian's going to go public. They say they're worth $65 billion. Maybe they are. I don't know. Have they delivered as many trucks as Tesla has? Not trucks, cars. Let's try something here. Market. No, I'm going to go down here. Hang with me for a second. All right, and I'll take your questions because this is kind of fun. Well, we all know what Tesla's been through, right? So Rivian says, hey, we're worth $65 billion. Right right about here is about where Tesla crossed the 65 billion mark. That'd take them 10 years. Think of all the cars they delivered in here, the orders that they had to take and then produce, the deposits and everything, the headache, Solar City, everything that they went through to be worth 65 billion. And then you have Rivian, who wants to go public. They want to raise 10 billion, which, by the way, you could look over here. Tesla couldn't have even been worth 10 billion until 2013. But nonetheless, you think Rivian is worth $65 billion? That's what I mean by these electric companies just coming out going, yeah, we're going to make cars too. It's going to be great. How? Where do you get $65 billion? Ford's worth 78 billion, maybe after today, 78, 79 billion. GM's worth a little bit more, 85, 86 billion. So they're just going to come out and you're just supposed to say like, oh yeah, that's worth 65 billion. You don't make any money? Oh, that's great. Amazon's going to buy some stuff. That's cool. But like, oh man, that one kills me. And you know what? People are just going to gobble it up. They're going to go gobble that stock up. I think it's going to be a bad thing, man. That's going to be Harry knows. Yeah, everybody listen to Harry. Yeah. Well, it may be by the time they go public that it may be that they're shooting for 75, right? They say they're shooting for 65 billion. At the moment, raising 10 billion puts them at 65 billion. Market demand could certainly push that higher than Ford or GM. I just think like some of these things that, we're starting to lose our minds a little bit here on some of these things. Houses, a friend of mine sold his house. He's in Florida on the other coast. 2 days, 30 grand more than asking. I think I told you that already. What? Like, let's take a minute. You're buying a house. And speaking of the house, the bill, the bill that they just passed there, it's 2,400 pages long. I pulled it up because I'm like, I'm going to read the bill, right? Great. This is great. Let's read the infrastructure bill. It's 2,400 pages long. And they proposed it, voted on it, passed it in the House. There was not enough time, to read that. I guarantee there was not enough time for everybody to read that bill. Things like that just seem a little bit odd right now. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm just saying. It'll all be all right. You know what? It'll all be all right. But for now, when you have control over your dollar, do you really, like my daughter, she's younger and kind of her first job and everything, waiting tables at kind of a tourism kind of a place, sort of. And she figured out that over the weekend, she's a waitress, but she figured out that at the bar, there were 3 deep people that were trying to get drinks. So she just walked by and she'd be like, can I get you a drink? Right? Even though that's not what she's supposed to do. They would say, oh my God, yes, I can get a drink through you. That's great. And people were just giving her $20 extra so that they didn't have to wait at the bar, right? Is it that important? Like at some point you go good for her because she figured it out. So she started tapping people on the shoulder and she made like $400 just from getting people drinks. She didn't do any real work. She just pressed the button in the thing and then handed them a drink. You're getting $15 tips and stuff. So things like that keep hitting me. And I'm like, is this necessary, guys? Right? Is this really necessary? Maybe hang on to your dough. Anyways, let's go. Yeah, welcome to politics, right? I was looking for some interesting stuff. I don't like the other things. I was looking for things that have to do with like saving and your money and retirement accounts. But when I saw that, I'm like, I know I can't read that fast. So either these people just sat around and read, and they turned the TV on, and they're all on TV. So they weren't sitting around reading. Come on, we're talking large sums of money. Yeah. Anyways, so let's see if I can answer some of your questions, right? Today was a little bit odd of a thing there, and then I got to make some calls. But yeah, my daughter figured it out. Yeah, she was telling me that, and I'm like, that's pretty smart. When people are just willing to give you money. And if I could just, one last thing. On my way home, it's kind of like a highway on my way home, right? And there's no other way to say it. There's a strip club on the right-hand side. You go over the bridge, and you can see it. It's kind of in a little shady area. That place is always busy. And I kind of use that as my barometer as to how are people doing. If you got that kind of money, like on a Wednesday, 5:45 or 6 or whatever, you're just hanging out there spending that money. I mean, it's like people are doing all right, right? I mean, it just kind of seems like little bit odd. We're weird here. We talk about different things. What do we got here? Do you see ESG platform on Interactive Brokers? Yeah, they actually have on their app, when you go to buy something, you can actually check the social impact of your purchase. And it's just because supposedly that's what people are into. I can't say for sure, but yeah, supposedly that's what people are. Oh, guess the Dow. I don't know. That's a Cody thing. Yeah, Cody will be back, I think, tomorrow. So we'll do it on Wednesday, whoever the winner is. That's true. Yeah. The tax cut bill was longer and passed faster, and you didn't say what you just said about the current bill. I just think you're inconsistent. Nope, I actually read through that. We did a whole class on it. That one was a little easier to read because it was more exciting to read for me because there was a lot that had to do with us. I actually read through the whole thing. We did a class line by line, went through every single thing that affected everybody. Yeah, some big advantages there, but yeah, I'm just saying. Let's take a second to read this thing here. Do we still have a cash position in the Russell fund, our small cap fund? Yep, we sure do. Oh, yeah. Average car, expensive. Yeah. Andrew, can you show a something pattern on a stock and show the deep value area to buy so that newer folks know what to scan for? Always scanning. What you didn't put a stock. What are we looking for, or which stock? So that's a good question there. Legis says, I was planning on holding some AMD. Should I trim it? This is a tough one, right? Because some people like to trade around their position, and some people say, all right, that's exciting, but I'm still in it for the long run. I've always been one that was willing to trade around a position. If it became hyperextended in the short term, I was willing to take some off, take the gamble that I'd be able to buy somewhere cheaper, even if it wasn't the best price. That's got to be where you stand. Also, you're going to want to check if it's a taxable account. Check the tax consequences. Are you a FIFO or LIFO? How is it set up on your brokerage account? FIFO being first in, first out, LIFO being last in, first out. If you're trading around a longer term position, you want to change, well, I don't think you can change it after you started, but you want to see if you can change that. Just a little extra tip there. Kyle says, man, I started that ATVI position. I don't know if it's found a bottom yet. You don't like to see that little teardrop there. Sorry. The good news is this is your area, right? You may not be the exact bottom, but this is your area. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't normally it's just one of those things that caught my eye. You're driving by, you're like, that's a lot of cars at that place, man. And it's not like Friday night, Saturday night. I get everybody's got their thing they like to do or whatever, but it's a work night. These people are out there doing whatever. Yeah. We're watching all old videos. Used to talk about check out the portfolios. Now you can't find them. We have not been openly taking new clients lately, so that's part of it. And the other thing is we've wanted to try to actually have it update automatically daily. That actually was manually updated for a while, and so we're trying to have it where it links to the portfolios so that I don't ever have to update it. It just, for better or worse, the portfolio changes, and it's not a direct, we can't pull the data directly, so we have to kind of cheat it, and since we have to kind of cheat it to get it from the account elsewhere, it just fell off the list a little bit. Yeah. Video on how to DCF or other methods. Yeah, I'm looking for ideas because the set over there, the normal FinTip set, is pretty much done. We got to hook up the computer and fix the lights, but I really want to get back to that. I have fun with those. I do have fun with those. What doctors? Yeah, when you usually sell different choices of a particular trade, including highest cost, lowest cost. There you go. You got what I'm saying. Yeah. People always, yeah, well, did I say it wrong? That's another one. by the way. Yeah, you got that Lucid Motors. So, I mean, they're doing well. That's getting a little extended itself, but that's going to be the places that people look. That's the infrastructure bill. That's the, hey, charging stations that aren't Teslas. So, I mean, I don't know enough to say this will turn into a Tesla. I haven't studied it that much. I'm just making the light argument that if you were Tesla, don't you kind of feel like, hey, you guys are just going to come to market and somehow like skip all the headache that we've been through and say you're worth $65 billion? I guess I was taking Tesla's side on that one. You know? It'd be like if another advisor was just like, I'm going to buy all this stuff and I'm going to make videos and do a great job. And I'm like, I wish you luck, but if you think it's just going to happen like that, that's wishful thinking. Yep. You got Square pulling back for you? I saw that earlier today, but where'd it finish? Not so bad. No, not too bad there. Look at it. So you got a little pullback right in here today, but it closed off of its lows. What's the look at Square and say, well, what's the reason that it would bounce? That's the tough part. This always happens. You might have heard me say this numerous times, but after earnings season, when there's nothing in Congress happening, nothing with Square unusual happening, no earnings being talked about right now, then you have nothing but interest in the space or the industry, as well as the overall market to help pull it higher. Other than that, the price resets based on what the recent earnings was, and that's where you're stuck, right? I got nothing to tell you that somehow there's something exciting that's going to happen there. Yeah. No electric car craze. They're forcing it on people. Well, I think Tesla's done a good job of making it cool to have. I mean, you could probably agree. People drive one. They look cool. I mean, I wouldn't pay that much for it, but it made it cool. They're the cool features and funny features that the car has and stuff. All right, you attract an audience. That's why I think it's tough for like GM to say we're going to make electric cars. It's going to be great. Okay, we're missing that cool factor. So you can't have the same price on there. Kids or the younger generation, they're still looking for that reason to buy. Why do they have to have it at that price? Where it feels like Tesla is a lot like Chick-fil-A, is kids feel like we have to have it. Okay. Yep. All right. I rambled on today, huh? Did a little rambling. I'm going to get back to doing what I normally do. Cool with you, man? Lucky Louie with me today. That's it. That's all we got. We'll be back tomorrow to do this all over again. I thank you for joining us. And sorry if I said something, bugged you or whatever, but it's just kind of what I'm seeing. You talk to enough people, looking at the market all the time, I'm like, all right, this is getting a little bit crazy, right? Am I the only one? I mean, if I'm the only one, then, I'm wrong. I'll take it back, but I don't think I'm the only one. Have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.